Well, good afternoon, everybody. It's the Cryptid Huntress, live and direct from Georgia. How's everybody doing today? I have such a wonderful surprise for everybody. It's not really a surprise if you've checked out the description in the show today. I have one of my favorites back with us today. We have John Vandeventer here in the studio today, y'all. And John has taken a little hiatus to heal and to get better. He went through some health stuff. And he is back and better than ever today. And I cannot wait to talk to him some more. We were just having a quick little conversation before the show. And he is, I think he's excited to be here too. We'll see. As soon as I pull John up, we are going to be visiting and exploring Oklahoma today. And that is where John lives. And we're in particularly going to be talking about the Shaman'S portal. If y'all have not heard of the Shaman'S portal, don't worry, neither had I until recently, okay? But I think that it could account for a lot of the cryptid activity, UFO activity, paranormal activity, even the S-Walker activity that goes on in Oklahoma. And we're going to get into that today. This has a history of missing persons reports, missing persons, period. And there is a cluster of missing people over in this area, and some say that it is because of the Shaman'S portal out there. So buckle up, buttercups. We're in for another wild ride today, and I couldn't be more excited about it. I also have a huge thunderstorm going on outside, so that thunder is just out there rolling, and the lightning is out there striking. So we are keeping fingers crossed that we have power, and we're going to until the end of the show today. So if you guys would like to follow along with all of my shows and check in with whatever I'm doing and check out my archives, go to thecryptidhuntress.com, please. And of course, I do have a podcast as well. If you guys want to listen to the Cryptid Huntress on podcast platforms, it does stream over there. I upload all the shows there as soon as they're done here live. So it's the Cryptid Huntress on all the podcasting platforms, almost all of them. Okay. And also I do have a Patreon if you guys would like to support my work, and a shop. It's on sale right now. That's War Woman Goods. I want to thank everybody who's been buying things out of my shop. And if you bought something since the weekend, and it's all going out today. I'm putting it all in the mail today as soon as we're done with the show. So thank you guys for all the support. Also, before we bring John up, I do want you guys to please go to relicsbooks.com during the show today or after the show, anytime you'd like, and go purchase some of John's books. Okay. And we'll pull this back up. Actually, it's on the ticker down here. If you guys forget and you don't know what it is, it's down there. Just wait for it to scroll back. And so let's get into our show, y'all. I don't want to waste any time bringing John up today. Okay, so let's talk about what we are discussing today before I bring John up. Beaver Dunes Park encompasses about 300 miles of Oklahoma's northwestern panhandle region. It's known as a hotbed of paranormal activity, and the dunes are home to a lot of human disappearances, secret military excavations, men in black sightings, and that has earned its title of the Oklahoma Bermuda Triangle. Wow, this is right up our alley. Spanish explorer Coronado led an expedition there back in the 1500s where several of his men vanished mysteriously from the dunes in a blast of a strange green light described as a phenomenon in his diary is what he called the work of the devil. Native American guides who aided him in his journey and with his men, told him, they had warned him, do not wander into those dunes. And y'all, this is wild because it's in Oklahoma, but they have sand dunes. It looks like a desert out there. But they had warned them not to go out there because they were evil. It was an evil place out there. The Shaman's Portal title was coined by those same Native Americans. Mysterious disappearance of people in the area still persists to this very day. Locals do report military excavation sites under the cover of darkness. And there was one Oklahoma State University archaeologist that had spent 3 years out there doing some archaeological digs until one day he was approached by a military group of guys they had military credentials, and they shut his operation down. Many people believe that the area is a portal into other dimensions. As the natives believe, there are electromagnetic disturbances recorded in the dunes. Some say an ancient alien spacecraft is buried deep below the ground there. So on this episode, of course, we are going to be talking about the Shaman's Portal, and I have John Vandeventer here with me. He is originally from Plano, Texas. He lives near Hanobi, Oklahoma now. He's a 16-year veteran of the United States Air Force. He has a big interest in UFOs, and he is an author of the Relics book series and the Shadow Chasers series youth novels. Please help me welcome to the show our good friend, John Vandeventer.
Hey, good afternoon.
Hey, John. Hey,
thank you for having me.
Of course. I've been waiting for you to come back here, and I am so excited to have you here. And I know the audience is happy to have you. You are one of my favorite people. Okay.
Well, thank you.
And we always have a good time here when you're on the show. So thanks
always
so much. And you look great. I hope
well,
you feel
thank
great.
you. Feel like Uncle Fester, but
I said you like Bruce Willis.
It's been a rough year, man.
Oh my gosh. Well, tell me how you've been. And I know the audience has been, sending you lots of prayers and.
Well, I have a little dose of throat cancer. So, back in December, I got my first shot of chemo, and it didn't agree with me. I went in the hospital on New Year's Eve, stayed 2 weeks, and then 3 days in rehab, then took another dose of chemo, and February 2nd, I was right back, another ambulance ride to the hospital, and 15 days this time, and I think it was 5 or 6 days of rehab to walk again. So I'm glad to be anywhere.
I am too. I'm glad you're here, and I have been sending continued prayers to you and to Monica and your family, and I know
I appreciate
our group has
really
too. Yes,
I really do.
Well, I bet you were coming up with some good book ideas while you were in the hospital and taking that time off.
When I wasn't. Yeah, it was funny. The first week, both times, I was just really sick. And the second week, I'd start recovering. And by the end of the second week, the first time, I was ready to get out. And then by the middle of the second week, this last time, it felt like prison. Just laying in a bed for 2 weeks is not my thing. So anyway, but, I'm progressed this far. So got a little ways to go yet, but we'll get there.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't surrendered to this at all. So
never
something to get
surrender.
through,
Never surrender.
I just want to remember I'm 66 and not pour the whole 50 gallons into me when cut me a little slack.
Hey, you're one of the strongest people I know, John. And you've spent 16 years in the United States Air Force, and
yes.
Yeah, you're tough. And you played rugby, so I know you're tough as nails.
There you go. I keep forgetting about a rugby connection.
Don't you dare
I found
forget
another
about
rugby
that.
picture I'll send you sometime.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You guys, if y'all don't know, John and I both played rugby back in our college days, okay, our younger days. And so, yeah, and once you play rugby, you got to bond with all the other rugby players. I'm just saying. We do. So
I just wonder how'd you keep all your teeth? How'd you not get an NHL smile?
I've definitely I have no idea. I have wires holding my teeth together, actually, probably. So I'm not kidding. I really do. So y'all, I know, right? It's one of those little secrets. Actually, that's from braces. Okay, but but it makes for a good story. Okay, but we also not only do we like rugby, we also share a love of the paranormal, John,
Yes.
and cryptids and UFOs, and you feature a lot of the Sasquatch and Bigfoots and UFOs and S walkers. I'm going to go ahead and say it one time, skinwalkers. Okay, and then I'm going
Oh
to call them
no.
S walkers from here on. Okay,
Did you
but
know that you can't say that word to the Choctaw here? They don't want to hear it.
yes, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, it's well, I've been learning that over the years.
They'll talk about Bigfoot, but they won't talk about the other.
Yes, it's because it puts you on the radar first of all,
Yeah,
and
yeah. I'm
we
on
don't want
enough
to be on the
radar,
radar.
so maybe I shouldn't say it either.
I know. Well, you live right there in the middle of Bigfoot country, John. Um, or do you live in Hanobi? And I'm finally pronouncing it right because it's spelled
Yeah.
Hanobia. Hanobi. You're right there in the heart of Bigfoot country where they have Bigfoot museums and festivals. And even what is that? The Siege of Hanobi. I've not
Yeah.
even covered that on my show yet. I need to do that soon.
Have you listened to the Sasquatch Chronicles episode about it?
No, I have not.
I'll
Not yet.
send you the link when we're done today.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'll
Yeah,
have
I
to
live
bring you on the
about
show
2.5
sometime to
miles.
talk about it.
I'm 2.5 miles as the crow flies from that house, and how the crow flies is best out here because all the roads are so windy and rough, and you know. In fact, that was I was more worried about Monica when I was in the hospital because the hospital was in Fort Smith and she was driving back and forth, and it was dead of winter and icy mountain roads and stuff, and yeah, I never relaxed till I knew she was home, or out of the mountains and on the way into Fort Smith.
Oh yeah, I don't blame you. Well, you guys have actually even had Bigfoots potentially on your property before,
Yeah.
and yeah, yeah. So, have you ever had one? Have you ever had one messing with your house? Have they gotten that close?
Well, we brought this huge above ground pool with us when we came up here in 2018. And I started noticing I'd come home from work and there'd be rocks the size of cantaloupe or oranges in the pool. And all the rocks are down on the road. And so it's like I couldn't throw one that far. And I don't know anybody else around here that could throw one of those rocks that far and get in the pool. Another funny thing too is Monica loves pine cones and she's always out picking up pine cones. Well, we have no pine trees anywhere near the house. We got them on the property, but we got 5 acres and way away from the house. And in the mornings, we'd find 2 little pine cones with a little pine sprig and needles, constantly finding one on our ledge out here next to the door, like somebody was leaving a gift or something. So who knows? I mean, I guess they didn't like me, but they liked her. They were giving me more work and leaving her presents.
Well, I wonder if they know that you write books about them. I wonder.
I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe if you sit out there and read to them one night.
You should. Well, I think they're telepathic. I do believe that, and that's
Well,
why part of my
I don't
research.
like one day you just never know. I kept hearing what I thought was Monica saying my name. I'm like, what? And finally I come in the house, I'm like, what? She's like, what? I said, you were calling my name. She said, no, I wasn't. I was like, oh, okay. And I just shut the door and went back out to whatever I was doing. And I never heard it again, though.
Oh my goodness. Well, okay. Well, I love that you were right there in the middle of all of the Bigfoot activity. I know it's not always comfortable. Okay, thinking there's Bigfoots around your house, but you live in the heart of, like I said, Bigfoot country. And how far are you? Because I have not looked at the map. I don't know where Hanobi is as compared to where the Shaman'S portal is up at this Beaver
I
Dunes.
couldn't be further away.
You're so far.
The Shaman'S portal's in the panhandle of Oklahoma, and I'm down in the southeast corner. So
that's right. Okay.
Yeah, I might as well be in Texas.
Oh yeah. Okay. Well, actually, speaking of which, I know some guys that used to go out to Brown Springs, Oklahoma.
I've been out to Brown Springs a couple of times.
Now that place is full of Bigfoot activity and something very dark, right?
Well, when I was out there, I went out there twice. I first heard about it, and I took 2 of my sons, and we went out there. Then I went out another time, about shortly after we moved here, and spent a weekend out there. And I really didn't run across anything Bigfooty, but we kept hearing this cackling, like witch laughter, and it would be on one side of us of the camp, and then it'd be on the other side, and the other side was where the river was. So I don't know. I didn't see any Bigfoot evidence while I was there. Now there's people that swear up and down, they say it's scary there in the daytime. I don't know. I mean, it's weird. I think it's kind of a crapshoot. I think when you go out hunting for something like Bigfoot, I really don't think you're gonna have much luck. I think you just gotta, it's kind of like lightning strike, and you kind of gotta be in the right place at the right time. I don't know. I know if I go out and look for something strange, I'll never find it. If I'm minding my own business, busy or something, bang, that's when something happens. And that's the way it works for me. It may be different for other people.
That is so interesting that you brought up lightning striking. Okay, because I had Greg House on my show about 2 weeks ago, and my buddy Robbie Rains, and Greg lives in Alabama, and he was telling me that he and several of his Bigfooting friends have all been struck by lightning.
Really?
All of them. Yes.
That's strange.
That is something that they all shared, and we're talking like more than 5 people. More than 5, and probably way more than that, but more than 5. And also Dennis Carroll, who comes on my show a good bit and co-hosts with me, he has been struck by lightning, and he's also had Bigfoot encounters. So it's something to think about. I don't know.
Well,
maybe
I'll take the Bigfoot encounter. I don't really want the lightning.
I know, right?
I can live without that. But
exactly.
it's like I came home from Brown Springs the last time, and I was covered in ticks and chigger bites, and I told Monica, I said, I think if they were out there, they're gone. I think if they were here, they're gone. And that was just because I didn't feel anything. There's a place in Arkansas called Longpool where I've had things happen, but the place gives you the creeps. I'm never comfortable there. I'm perfectly comfortable here or out in Brown Springs. So I thought, man, it must not be around. I'm not feeling anything. And then bang, 2 nights later, I had a sighting on our property line. And so that little theory I had was wrong. And I'll never forget when I was telling Monica about it, she was like, "Oh, John," like she didn't believe me. And then 3 months later, roughly the same area, she sees one. But she had 2 people with her. So there was 3 witnesses for her. For me, it was just me. So I was like, yeah, that's the one I want, the one where there's people who can back you up, because it was almost like I really wished I hadn't seen it because I want to talk about it, but then I don't want to talk about it,
Mm-hmm.
And I really didn't say much about it for a couple of years. And then when I finally started talking about it, well, immediately people are like, "Oh, you're just trying to sell books." I'm like, well, yeah, I am trying to sell books, but this ain't part of that. This is actually something different. I haven't spoken of this for 2 years. So, yeah, I want to sell books. I want to sell books more than I want to tell a Bigfoot story, but maybe, I don't know. They're both pretty cool. So I'll take either.
They are. That's interesting because a lot of people don't come forward because they do get ridiculed. Okay. A lot of people do get ridiculed, but here's my thing, John. You got to just don't worry about what other people think. Okay.
Well, I really don't. I'm rougher on myself than other people.
I know, right?
Well, I really don't care.
Oh gosh, we all are, for sure. And Dan's out of the UK. He says witches and forests go together like cheese and crackers. Yes, they do. Just like you were talking about how you heard a witch sound like a witch cackling out in the woods. That's really creepy. Yeah, very creepy. It's so interesting because a long time ago, I had been asked to do a remote viewing target of some missing time that somebody had, a Bigfoot field researcher had out in the woods at Brown Springs. Or Brown Spring. Is it Springs or Spring? I don't know if it's plural. Springs. And so I did it. He gave me the time and the date, the location of where he wanted me to do some remote viewing. And I did. And I saw what I saw was a straight up, I'm going to say an alien abduction, actually, with some missing time at Brown Springs. Yes. And and we talked about it. We did a show on it and everything. It's I was actually warning him. He wanted me to tell them live on the show. And I was like, no, this is going to be too traumatic for you. We need to talk about it off air first. Okay. Because it even involved like an examination inside of a craft and, all sorts of weird stuff.
Really?
Yeah.
Well,
Right there.
when I first started researching Bigfoot for the first book, Relics, was about the time that David Paulides' Missing 411 was really hitting hard. And I was like, well, wow, that makes sense. All these people in national parks disappearing. I was kind of thinking, must be Bigfoot. But then when you go and watch the Hunters version, one of the later ones, where he has a film and stuff, there's these guys talking about UFOs following them. And
Mhm.
now, see, I don't see a cluster out there in the panhandle of Oklahoma. Do you?
No, well, that is from 2012. So this is an old map, of course, but
Yeah.
yeah, there's
Plus,
not one right there on the Panhandle.
those
Not
disappearances might not fit the same
this.
references he needed for his.
Yes, yes. But there's a lot of missing people from this area for sure,
Yeah.
and it goes all the way back. And we're talking about the Beaver Dunes. Okay, let's actually get into a little bit of the history about what we're going to be talking about today, because this is all in Oklahoma. We talked about Brown Springs a little bit. Now that's a little bit farther south, I believe, right? That's not the Panhandle, would it?
That's not too far. That's only about an hour and a half, 2 hours from me.
Okay.
It's directly north of Dallas on I-35. I mean, as soon as you cross the border into Oklahoma, you want to hang a right where the big casino is, and then hang another right, and it'll take you down to Brown Springs. It's right there. So maybe 2 or 3 miles from the casino. It's right on the river, right
Mhm.
on the Red River.
Nice. That's okay. So when we talk about the
Okay, you see
Panhandle,
on the map where the
mhm,
highway's coming up from Dallas?
sure, yes.
Right on the right side of that highway as it crosses the Oklahoma border is Brown Springs.
Oh, very cool. So that's right down there in the center of the state on the
Yeah,
center south.
right,
Okay. And so this Beaver Dunes State Park that we're talking about is way up north in the Panhandle over to the west.
right.
And but nonetheless, Oklahoma is filled with all this paranormal activity,
It
John. A
is.
lot of
It
lot of
absolutely is.
Bigfoots. And that is actually okay. So if I have my history right, it seems like the Trail of Tears ended there in Oklahoma, right? A lot of the Native Americans were.
Yeah, a lot for the Choctaw it did, and maybe
Mhm,
the Cherokee too. I'm not sure on their history. I get a lot of Choctaw history living in the
mhm.
Choctaw Nation, so
Yeah.
um, yeah. But this is pretty much where they ended up, and yeah, I had to say as far as being sent to Oklahoma, this wasn't. I mean, nobody deserves to be packed up and moved from their home
No.
under duress, but they could have ended up someplace worse. This is, for Native American tribes, there's lots of water, there's lots of game here. I'm sure the fishing was probably better in Mississippi and Alabama along the Red River, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of food sources here, and it's very beautiful. So
Mhm,
I don't know. I don't want to say it could have been worse because that's really not a good way to put it. But
mhm.
this is a great area to live in, and I'm
Oh, yeah.
now, and I'm sure it was then too, as far as the way society was back then.
Oh,
With
yeah.
you're not going to starve to death here if you have the least amount of smarts. You're gonna be okay here.
Oh my gosh. You must work for the Chamber of Commerce out there. What is it?
Actually,
You're on
no,
the
I don't work
tourism
at all.
committee. I'm just kidding.
No,
That
but
sounds
I do.
great.
We really fell in love with this place. I couldn't imagine living anywhere else. It's not very convenient when you need a hospital, but but who plans on that? And Hanobi, the nearest gas station is 17 miles, the nearest post office 19 miles. Big Lots or Dollar General is 21 miles, and forget about
Oh my gosh.
forget about Walmart. You're planning a day trip there. So we're 60 miles from a Walmart. So
Well, that's why you
there's
got all
not a
those
lot of people
Bigfoots.
out here. Yeah, it's just mountains and pine trees and creeks and rivers. It's beautiful. Not a lot of people.
Oh yeah, that sounds like my kind of place. I don't know. I do like the convenience of having a mall not too far. Okay, stuff
Well,
and a
there's a mall in
Walmart.
Fort Smith, but it's an hour and a half,
Yeah.
a little
Oh
over
my
an hour
gosh.
and a half.
Oh my gosh. Okay, well let's travel back in time. Okay,
Yeah,
shall
let's
we?
go.
Let's go back to the 1500s. And Oklahoma was very well explored, apparently. There was a Spanish explorer named Coronado. I can't remember his first name. Okay. It's here somewhere. I've got lots of notes. Okay. But there was a Spanish explorer that went there. This is before it was Beaver Dunes State Park. Well before this. And he took his men out to this area. Okay. I'll pull it back up on the map. And by the way, yes, I did see those comments. There are a lot of Dogman reports too out of Oklahoma, not just Bigfoot. We've got Dogmen and the S Walkers, and Brown Springs especially has a lot of Dogman sightings apparently. John, from what I can recall, Brown Springs was a dumping ground for the mob for their for their
That's what I've heard. Yeah,
bodies.
I've heard there's been a
Hmm.
lot of bodies out there
I've heard
found.
that. Oh
Yeah.
yeah, that's what I
Well,
heard.
before that casino was built, there wasn't nothing out there. Um, that casino's been there maybe 15 years now,
Mhm.
so that's increased the traffic and stuff. But there really wasn't a lot out there before.
Wow. Well, I can't believe how sandy this is. Okay. I didn't realize. I thought that Oklahoma was just all farmland and it was all green and luscious, but there's these huge sand dunes out there.
Well,
You know,
there's sand dunes there. There's mountains here in the southeast corner that I never knew existed. And I grew up in Texas, and we had a house on Lake Texoma. So, but I
oh,
never got
wow.
over this part of Oklahoma. It's just beautiful.
Oh,
And
wow.
yeah, I'm sure, like in every state, we all have our own little mental picture of what we think it looks like, and
Mhm.
like every place else, there's different terrain as you move. Different parts of the state. The
Oh, yeah.
bigger the state, the more the different type of terrain you're going to have.
Oh, yeah. I would love to go get in a dune buggy or a side by side and go jump some dunes. That'd be fun. Maybe I'll do that one day. Okay. But here's this is actually a painting of Coronado being led by some local Native American guides when they were exploring the area up there. And it said that some of his men wandered into the dunes, and it is wild because they disappeared and they described where they went, the dunes. They said as the men disappeared into these dunes, it was like green lightning was striking or coming out of them. Some kind of
Yeah.
greenish blue lightning. And John, I got to say, I just did a really interesting trip about almost 2 years ago now up to Montauk, New York, and we were there to go to on the anniversary of that biorhythmic portal that was supposed to open where the USS Eldridge was going to be showing back up in the ocean. They said every
Oh
20
yeah.
years. And sure enough, we had a team in a boat out there on the ocean. The fog was so thick that day. It was the oddest thing. It was not natural. I think they turned on a fog machine. Somebody did. Maybe it was God's fog machine. I don't know. Somebody turned on a fog machine, and we couldn't see much from our vantage point up on the beach. But people on the boat, they were seeing blue and green lightning out in the ocean.
Yeah. Well,
Blue and green
I
lightning.
did a little when you told me this was the subject. I was doing a little research, and people disappearing in a green flash or green mist is not uncommon. It's pretty common as far as disappearances go. Um,
Mhm.
that people witness anyway.
Mhm.
And I was looking that part of Oklahoma Panhandle area. That area was kind of the border between the Comanche Nation and the Kiowa Nation. And I was trying to figure out maybe which tribe Coronado would have ran into. He probably ran into both, but I was curious as to what tribe was there when they had the disappearances. But right where, what is it, Buffalo Beavers,
Beaver's
whatever
Dunes.
Dune.
Beaver
Well,
Dunes.
Beaver's Bend is down here. It's like Beaver's
Oh,
Bend is.
y'all
This
got
is
a lot of
Beaver.
beavers out there.
Yeah, evidently.
Okay.
Um, I never seen any in sand dunes though, but no, there's a Beaver River there, near that, and I think that's where the name comes from. But yeah, it is right on the border between the Comanche Nation and Kiowa Nation. They're
Mhm.
ancient. They're ancient um, territories. So, I mean, it is almost like straddles that areas. So I
My
don't know which
goodness.
tribe they were talking to or interacting with.
Hmm. I couldn't find it either. I assumed it was Chocktaw, but that was just my assumption because I don't know. Um,
Yeah.
but that's what I
Well,
assumed.
Choctaw they show up back around Mississippi and Alabama because they were moved down. This is pre-Trail of Tears, the map I was
Oh,
looking.
oh yeah. Well, actually, you know what? Speaking of maps, I wanted to show real quickly. I had, I'm really into the uh, Indian burial mounds, as we call them down here in the South. These Mississippian mounds, I think is how you say it. And there's actually a couple of. There's at least one. I'm just going to say one, Mississippian mound in Oklahoma, but I don't think it's. I don't know how close that is. I think it's more on the eastern part of the state. Um, than it is over here by Beaver Dunes State
Yeah,
Park. I don't think it's near there.
there's mounds just north of us, about 45 miles of Spiro mounds, and we've gone out there, but the park wasn't open the day we went out there. And need to go back up there
Hmm.
since we're up there by Walmart anyway.
Oh yeah,
But
but when you go and take that 2 hour trek
yeah,
to Walmart.
I find the mounds really interesting.
Hmm. Oh yeah, well there's one called Spiro Mound. Spiro.
Yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, the
Hmm.
Spiro Mound. Is that a picture? It looks like,
Yes, that's it. Yeah,
yeah,
that's
that looks
it.
like them right there. Yeah.
And this is actually what it partially like what it looked like and who lived there. This is a rendition of one of the inhabitants who lived there. But this is of the Mississippian mound builders, and just like it's very similar to the Etowah Indian mounds here in the Mulgi Indian mounds in Georgia, where I live. And we have a lot of cryptid reports from those areas, John.
Well,
A lot.
yeah, it's amazing. I mean, I couldn't have picked being a paranormal fiction writer. I couldn't pick a better state to move to.
That's true.
There's something going on everywhere up here. It's crazy. I mean, there's stuff goes on right around here that's crazy. But like I just got reports on the Cucumber Creek, which is maybe about a third of the way to Spiral Mounds from here. If you go north, they're finding some kind of weird cryptid tracks down there. It's like three toes,
Mhm.
almost bird-like, but massive.
Oh,
And we
bird-like.
know a lady here that has told us her father used to find weird tracks down on Cucumber Creek. He'd go down there fishing and stuff. And at one point, I don't know, he heard something. I don't know if it was a growl, screech, or what, but he quit going fishing there after the
Bird-like.
tracks and the noise. So yeah.
Ooh, I just talked on Saturday night about a week ago, 2 weeks ago. I think it's about a week ago with Barry. We talked about modern day dinosaur sightings, and we are getting reports of raptors in
Well,
Georgia and
that's
in
what
California.
they're saying. It may be like a raptor print. Like it looks like
Yeah,
a big bird print or something. So
that ain't no
that was
bird.
my first thought, was maybe some kind of dinosaur or something like that.
A velociraptor. Okay, well they better keep their head on a swivel, as I always say out there, because that's something you don't want to sneak up from behind. Okay, to
No.
sneak up behind you at least. Wow, that's the first thing that came to my mind when you said that. My gosh.
I also think it's interesting that people keep disappearing in this area,
Yeah.
and then they find the buried spaceship. Evidently, they uncovered a UFO of some type. I think I'm being so clever in my books because I use that scenario three, and then somebody comes along and says, "Oh, darn, it really happened." Well, that's cool. It really happened, but I wanted to be the only one using it. But then I come to find out, no, that's not not as rare of a story as you've heard. I guess there's been several dug up during the excavations. In fact,
Mhm.
the Bob Lazar guy, I don't know if you're familiar with him from Area 51, said
Yeah.
he said the actual UFO he was working on, or flying saucer, had been found in a archaeological dig. They discovered it. So
Oh.
that's kind of cool.
Well, that's one of the theories as to why there's a whole lot of activity here at this Beaver Dunes. state park is that there's an ancient alien spacecraft buried down there.
And you don't know what else, you know. I mean, there could be
Yeah,
some part of it, some control. I know, like for the UFOs in my books, I use an obelisk, and that's something they can carry in or carry out, but they control a lot of their technology with these obelisks. So there could be something like that going on, you know. There
it
could
could
be
be.
something left behind down there causing this.
Well, it could be. And okay, so I wanted to address there was a comment from Machete up here in the chat, and I've lost it now, but it said that he or she, I think Machete's a guy, I'm not sure. Machete had seen the green lightning over St. Pete's Beach down in
Oh,
Florida.
really?
And I got to say, I did a conference there last year, and I'm going to be back this year down in St. Pete, and I was told that there is a portal there in St. Petersburg, Florida.
Huh.
Okay, so a portal, so that would make sense. We are talking about portals here. Okay, we're talking about portals, and the green lightning habit. That's where my people that I was with, all the people I was with, out in that boat, some of them, including James Rink, who was there, a good friend of mine, he was out there. He said that they saw blue and green lightning. Okay, now,
Really?
and they were there looking for the portal opening where the USS Eldridge was supposed to reappear. Okay,
Huh.
and that's when he saw that blue lightning. And then we've got 1500s here at this area where they are seeing blue and green, what look like lightning, when those men disappeared out at those
You know
dunes.
what's weird is there are times we get pink lightning here in Honolulu. I've never seen it except
Oh
here.
wow!
But instead of the blue, it's pink. It's crazy. But yeah, there's a lot, you know, there's so much here, and we need to get back over to Beavers. What is it?
Beaver's Dune,
Beaver Dam State Park or
Beaver's Dune, Beaver
Be-
Dunes. I know, right? I mean, this place is so rich in history, though, and for there to have been Spanish explorers that disappeared, and this is actually written in this explorer's diaries, talking about it, and said that it was actually the work of the devil, is what he said, and the Native American said it was an evil place, not to go anywhere near it. Okay, so both of them said it was very evil, and it's almost like the dunes ate those men up. They just
and
disappeared.
what's the first thing we European type people do when we hear from natives? Don't go in there.
They
It's
go in
evil.
there
We
probably.
go right in.
Oh my god, it's terrible. They do. Well, they call it the Shaman'S portal. Okay, the Shaman'S portal, which would insinuate that it's actually probably Native American shaman portal. My good friend William Nighthawk has told me that, and he talks about this on his podcast, Nighthawk High Strangeness, about how a lot of cryptids are summoned to some of these areas like the Indian burial mound sites and those earthen mounds everywhere, any kind of sacred lands. They are summoned there through blessings and curses. And you got to wonder, well, how are they summoned there? Where do they come from? Probably the shaman opens a portal, I would think, in some instances, or all the
Yeah.
instances.
And again, I wish I knew what tribe, you know, they were interacting with.
Oh yeah,
But yeah, I wondered where the name Shaman's Portal came from, if there actually was shaman that were, you know, using this as some during some kind of ceremony or something they could make enemies disappear with, or
hmm well, also there's some people look back at this account and they say, well, they feel like maybe some of that was made up, and it was just put out there as a word of caution to keep all the explorers away from that area, because that was sacred land, and the people who lived there, all the natives there, did not want their land, their territory encroached on. And so
yeah,
there were, it's just like a parent telling their kids, like, don't go out in the woods at night, raw hidden bloody bones is going to get you. So it keeps the
right.
kids from wandering off into the woods at night by themselves.
Well, you know, like there are some strange, like Chocktaw won't whistle at night, and they won't look out the window at night.
Oh gosh. Yeah,
And
I've heard that.
yeah, it's, you know, um, I don't know why, but other than it may attract attention,
Hmm.
you know.
It does. Well, what I'm learning too, I'm always talking about things I'm learning all the time, is sound frequency can open portals as well.
Right. Well, I agree. I think the whole, everything kind of operates on frequencies. Well, I saw you had Ron Moorhead. You've read his book too.
Quantum
Um,
Bigfoot.
you got him to sign your book, right? Quantum
Yes.
Bigfoot.
Oh yeah.
I got him to sign mine, but mine was like, oh man, it was all dog eared, and I was like, I feel like I ought to buy a new one, but we just. He's
My
like, yeah,
my
no problem.
Yeah, I have Post-it notes stuck on like every chapter on like different pages because it's so important. And I actually took my book to the last year's Georgia Bigfoot conference. Ron was there, and I was sitting there talking to him, and I showed him my book, and I was like, "Look, he had signed it years ago. When he first wrote the book, he signed my book at some event we were at, and I had it with me." And I mean, it had bookmarks and the earmarks and
Yeah,
everything in it. It was well worn actually, and that is a
right.
wonderful book to refer to when we're discussing Bigfoot, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think that book is awesome. It
Hmm.
explains a lot because you know my personal belief is everything's interdimensional that we're seeing in the paranormal. I even believe the UFOs. I don't think they're coming from outer space. I think they're interdimensional because we never see them in deep space. We see them either around the Earth or in our atmosphere, but we don't ever catch them out in deep space or get any kind of activity out there. So I'm inclined to believe it's all interdimensional and portals are real. And I just kind of, like look at, well, you've come across big footprints in the wilderness, right? In
Just
your
recently, just
travel.
about a week ago. Yeah, I sure did. When I was up in, I was up in North Georgia after the Georgia Bigfoot conference. I was speaking. I got to be a keynote speaker this year, John, and
Awesome.
yeah, it was great. So,
Back to Ron Moorhead. I remember when I was researching for Relics, he was one of the guys I would, go and listen to him on podcasts. MK Davis, Scott Nelson, and then one day,
yeah,
next thing you know, I'm speaking on the same stage with those guys, and then the next year I'm emceeing, and it's Ken Gerhardt and Lyle Blackburn and guys like that, and it's like how quickly you go from seeing them and then all of a sudden you're amongst them. It's kind of a strange thing, you know.
it is wild, and yeah, it's a wonderful experience, man. Getting to
It
hang out
is.
with people, especially people that are friends of the show. They showed up. I actually took three sisters out into the field with me that night on
Oh,
Saturday
did you
night.
really?
They all came from different states, and we went out and I took them bigfooting and with some of my team, some of my guys, and we ended up finding some Bigfoot tracks, and it was awesome. It was so cool, and
You
so
know,
yeah.
the first time Lyle and Ken Gerhardt spoke together here at Honami, I was emceeing that one, and so Lyle came back and made a quick trip down to the Oklahoma Bigfoot Museum here in Tallahassee, about 24 miles away. And it was a Saturday, and I felt so bad because I'd been up all Friday night, and I wasn't near the MC. I was just kind of helping out and stuff. But I'm sitting right there, and I fall asleep, and I wake up, and he's looking right at me. I'm like, you can say you're sorry with the face. I felt so bad falling asleep, but I'd been up all night, and it just caught up to me.
Hey, it happens to the best of us, John. Don't worry. Okay. Yes, I have a good friend who's been on the show, and I think he fell asleep while we were talking on a show one day. Okay, so I'm just going to say I'm not going to name names. Okay, I'm not going to name names. It wasn't on my channel; it was on his channel.
Well, I just caught
It
myself. I
happens.
wanted you mentioned something in chat, so I hit the little chat button there. I wanted to scroll, and then when I came back, I thought, I bet they saw my hand the whole time. I
It's
wasn't doing
okay.
that.
Oh yeah, it's all good. It's all good. We have a very forgiving audience over here, and we're just over here having a good time. And So yeah. Well, okay, so we're talking about the green lightning. Okay, the green lightning and the portals. My team has documented a portal. I'm not going to get back into that. I talk about it all the time, but they documented a portal, what we think is a portal as well. And so I think there's portals all over the place, but this could be one of the first document. This could potentially be one of the first documented portal incidents where people walked into it and never were seen again. Okay, so we can't necessarily, I'm always like, oh, well, people probably walk into a portal that go missing in our national parks and they're taken down to like these facilities. And well, if these portals have been here since the 1500s, okay, where did those people go? Where did they go? Were they just walk into another dimension, I guess, or
I
time
guess I
travel?
don't. Well, it's like when your Bigfoot track ends. Where did he go?
Yeah,
And
well,
I've
when
never
the
seen
tracks
one
in.
that
Yeah,
didn't end in like soft dirt or mud. And there should be other tracks, But
yeah.
the longest track line I've seen was about 125 feet. And then again, but the ground was hard there. It was going down slow, then the ground got hard, so it wasn't trackable, but it was kind of digging in, going down. But I can't
Yeah.
explain the ones that just disappear. And I've seen that twice, just like there should be more tracks. Where'd it go? You know?
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes the tracks do just disappear into thin air. They do, and
Yeah.
here's something that's even almost more weird. Is at the meadow where we do some of our research, undisclosed location. The guys have actually been out there and found. I know Bob. I think Bob's the one that found it. I can't remember, but there was like a 5 foot track mark, and here's the thing: it was like a track mark, like a truck had driven through there, and then the tracks just stopped. Okay, but here's the thing. Of course, it could have been a helicopter that landed in there. That's like the only thing we could think of was maybe a helicopter landed, and
That's
but
expensive though. I
yeah, it
mean,
would be. It wouldn't make sense for where we were at out there.
yeah.
But I mean, we couldn't figure out how to a car or truck or anything had gotten out there to begin with. But it was like a maybe a 5 foot track line of a vehicle, like a car. Okay, not a
Mhm.
tractor. It was a vehicle. So
That's
we
crazy.
we have weird stuff that goes on out there. Yeah.
And, as we were saying earlier, I saw something and I started to send it to you, but I didn't because I found it kind of late. There was something, I'll see if I can find it and send to you. Like a large group of children disappeared from someplace in a
Oh,
green cloud or green flash one time.
no way.
Yeah. I'll look for it and send. I wish I would have
Okay.
done it now, but it was kind of late. I was trying to get on here and
Oh yeah. Well, I just did a show about another week ago. I mean, this is all recent on the children of Woolpit. I think that's what it was called, the Green Children of Woolpit. Now that's a little different because the kids were actually green. Okay,
really,
they didn't come from Green Lightning. Okay, they actually were green, but they came potentially out of a portal. Okay, they said
huh?
that they didn't speak any kind of English that was not or English any kind of language that was known to any of the people that lived around there, and they had skin that was tinted green. And this was back in I forgot what year it was. It was 1100s, I think, 1100s in England. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah, 12th century, I think. So yeah, a lot of greens coming up these days here. But okay, well let's talk a little bit about hey Lanita, what's up, lady? Let's talk a little bit about what all is going on there at this day, like currently. They have a big military presence at this Beaver
Yeah,
Dunes Park.
military, they're
Hmm.
excavating, they're digging holes and things like that.
Yeah,
I'm
what?
trying to figure out what branch of the military is doing it and what MOS you have to have
Yeah, to
to
go
go get
dig.
to go get involved in that kind of thing. Because
I mean,
I missed my calling evidently.
I know, right? Well, you could be going out there and digging for crashed spaceships,
Yeah,
and
yeah,
we there's been a lot of buzz over the past couple of years about UFO crash retrieval units with our
yeah. Men
military.
in Black have been seen out there.
Mhm.
Um, Men in Black encounters and yeah, there's a lot going on for a place I've never heard of. It's but then again, it's sparse out there. There's not a lot.
Oh yeah,
What's it called? It's called the Badlands or something like that. It's not. not a lot of people out there, not a lot of people going through there.
Hmm. Oh yeah, yeah. Well, there was an archaeologist from the university out there who had been doing archaeological digs and had like a site there, and he actually had some guys with military credentials. He said came out there and shoot him off the property and told him to get out of there. So they said that they were working under the cover of darkness. Okay, the military doesn't go out there and do digs during the daytime; they do it at night when nobody's out there. So I think that's
I
what.
watched I watched a short video of a guy out there. He had his EMF meter and all that, and it kept spiking. And he was talking about there was a couple that was following him around for a little bit, and then he'd move away from them, and he'd see them again coming from another direction. I thought that was kind of strange.
That is very strange.
And
Yeah.
Oklahoma is one of those. You don't need a license to conceal or carry. So walking up on people and being spooky about it, probably not a good idea,
Oh yeah.
Or,
Oh yeah.
I wouldn't think, I don't know. It's just not smart to do something like that to people out here. You may get, you may get a new
Unalive.
ventilation.
Exactly. Yeah, I know, right? Yeah, it's not very smart.
Well, I know when we moved here, everybody's so friendly, and I love to shoot. I'm not a hunter, but I love target shooting, and I got a nice little collection of guns. But I remember people telling, man, everybody's so friendly out here, and I was looking around, and a lot of them carry too, and they go, yeah, up here, law enforcement can take anywhere from an hour to an hour and a half to respond, so. Everybody's polite because we settle our own hash, and it's better to be polite.
Exactly.
I thought, okay, I can live with that.
I know it takes too long for the cops to get there, so you got to handle things on your own. I get it.
Yeah,
I totally get it. Thorley and Hobson says ghost galore in that park, and I'm assuming you're talking about Beaver Dunes. Okay, and yeah, it's not only there's a lot of ghosts there. There's all sorts of, any kind of paranormal activity, cryptids too. A lot of cryptid activity has been reported there. And I wanted to go back. I remembered that actually some people say that the green lightning and all that, the green lightning they see out there, some people attribute that to the Native Americans doing magic out there, like the natives doing some sort of sorcery, okay, to keep people out of the area. So I found that kind of interesting too. But it started making me think of those things you can buy to throw on your campfire that turn your flames different colors. The kids like that. So I don't know if you ever did that when you were a kid, John. But
yeah,
there's something
I used
you
to
can
do
throw
with
on
the
it.
Christmas wrapping paper, and it would burn different colors. Yeah.
Oh yeah, all those dyes. Oh yeah. So there's just there's just a whole lot of stuff going on out there. But there is that suspicion that it could be kind of a big show or whatever. And maybe I don't know, maybe they were insinuating that those explorers back in the 1500s were actually kind of kidnapped and dealt with, let's just say, behind the scenes, and it just looked like they had been, eaten by the dunes, basically. But the activity persists to this day, and so that makes me wonder, is this area on a ley line? Okay, let me pull up the ley line map and let's take a look, because we do have ley lines. Oh yeah, going straight through. I have to.
You know what?
Oh, yeah,
I think
straight through. There's a ley line going straight through it. I just blew it up on my screen here, and I can see there's a ley line going right through that area.
Actually, there's two that crisscross there. Yeah.
Well, okay, if you zoom in really good, you can see right above it in the state right above. Is that Kansas? Kansas.
Yeah.
In Dodge, it says Dodge City right there.
And that goes right through. That goes right through. It goes right through there. You're right. It absolutely does.
Okay, it goes right through there. And just north of there is an intersection of a whole bunch of ley lines in Dodge City. I guess that's Kansas. So, wow. I think that's actually where my
there's ley lines going right through here, too. I'll be darned.
Yeah.
Sorry
for my I'll pull it back up. I'll pull it back up so we can see.
Yeah, there's one that goes right through. Well, that explains a lot of things.
That explains a lot.
Yeah, it does.
it does explain a lot. And, and as far as the missing persons go, so a lot of times those might be, the missing persons clusters are a lot of times on ley lines. And I had a friend of mine who was traveling around to all, and I didn't know her until I met her in person. I knew her a little bit from talking to her on the phone and online, but we met at the Etowah Indian Mounds about a year ago, and she was actually traveling. I think she came down from DC, from Washington, DC, and was traveling to all the different burial mounds around the South. And she was plotting ley lines, John. She was plotting ley lines. And she may have some sort of government clearance. So I'm gonna leave it at that. Okay. But there was something going on where part of her job apparently was plotting ley lines and stuff.
Okay, I'm gonna ask you exactly what is a ley line? I've never really I've heard about them, and I've heard there's always strange stuff on them.
Yeah. Well, they're just energetic lines, like the latitude, longitude, like we have here. Okay, but these are like they're places that connect places of power. Okay, like lines. If you look at these lines, okay, and you follow these lines, the ley lines, you're going to see, and maybe it's magnetic. I'm not sure if it's magnetic or what. People in the audience will know better than I do. Okay, so we'll have to look at the chat. But there's places of like the Bermuda Triangle. Okay, let's say the Bermuda Triangle. I believe the Bermuda Triangle is right there. If you look off the coast of Florida, over in the Atlantic,
yeah, look at that.
You're going to see
right
that cluster.
Yeah.
That is the Bermuda Triangle, from what I can recall, right there. Right, it's right in that area. It's the compasses will not work. Okay, everything spins. Planes go missing. Boats go missing. People, it's just a black hole, basically. I don't know, but it's like all these places of power are kind of connected by ley lines. Okay, and I just think it's an energetic. I don't dare I say vortex. Okay, like where vortexes are located.
There's one. It looks like it's running right through Honabi. I'll have to check it out.
Oh yeah, I'll send you the map. How about that? I'll send you the map after the show today. I'll send you that map because they do, and they go all around the world. They wrap all around the entire Earth. And I say globe. I'm still a glober. I'm not a flat earther yet. I'm not a flat earther yet, y'all. But nonetheless, meridian lines. Thank you, Jaden. I appreciate that. I know. And that's actually why my friend who was plotting out these ley lines and stuff, she and I were kind of working together. I don't ever we don't give our locations away to where we do our Bigfoot research, but she was very interested in the places where I do my Bigfoot research because they actually fall on ley lines. A lot of the places that are paranormal hotspot hubs are places that ley lines run through. And so there are a lot of ley lines that were not known. They're not mapped out yet. And she was actually kind of traveling around and plotting out like ley lines that had not been plotted out yet. Okay. And they did include some of the places where I do some of my Bigfoot research out there. So,
cool.
Yeah, very cool, right? Very cool. I
was looking at that one, it runs through here. It's going to run through Cucumber Creek, what I was talking about earlier. It runs through Heavener or close to it, and there's some weird stuff there. And then it's going to run through Spyro too, it looks like. So it makes sense.
Wow, that's awesome. That's really cool. Yeah. Gosh, we have a great chat today. Thank you guys so much for being in here.
Yeah.
And for all these wonderful comments today. Don says energy line to get best use of tapping into Earth's mysteries. Yes, they are. They're like meridian lines, as Jaden said. And it's a great, listen, people who know the occult, let's just say occult, any kind of hidden knowledge or secret knowledge, you're going to know that they have good knowledge of the ley lines. Okay. I often talk about those two men in North Georgia who built the house, the Corpsewood Manor. Okay. They were friends with Anton LaVey. And I know it's wild, but the rumor has it that he showed them where to build their house out in the woods. And they were both Satanists, by the way. Okay. But it was a place it had to be set on a ley line. It had to have, because people who are in the know will put their homes and put their, even churches, see, it can be used for good, and it can also be used for bad as well. Okay, but a lot of cathedrals and big large churches are on ley lines. John, actually, like places where they have the Super Bowl, okay, stadiums are put on ley lines. Okay, and that's a big energy harvesting type of a deal. Okay, for ritualistic purposes, in my opinion. But it's to harness it. I think it makes it easier to harness all that energy. Okay, of humans.
These people that are reporting excavations by the military, are they digging something up or are they just digging?
They
Do you have any idea?
Okay, let me.
Are they digging to get somewhere, like digging a tunnel, or are they just digging?
It just says they're digging in the cover of night. That's really all I could find on that. They've just been digging in the cover of night. Let's see. I'm trying to see if I have any notes on that. No, I couldn't figure out what they were digging for, but people believe that there is an ancient spacecraft that crashed there, and it's all kind of hearsay, but that's what local legend says, that there's an ancient spacecraft there in the dunes, buried under the dunes, which, I mean, who's to say there is or isn't? I think that'd be a great remote viewing target, actually, to go in there and try to dig around.
That's a good idea. If you're going to do it, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I don't see why not. I think that'd be a great one. Oh, by the way, I did want to point this out. I did read that at this park, they have an annual cow chip throwing contest. You know what that is, John?
Yeah.
You know what it is? They throw cow poop. Okay. Like, what is that? Who came up with that? That's my question. Who came up with that? That is a terrible competition. Okay. And I don't think I would want to do that. But
I wonder if they throw them like a frisbee or like a discus.
I know, right? Who came up with that, y'all? Yeah, that is. I've heard of frisbee throwing competitions. What is that called? Disc golf and stuff. But this is with cow dung. Okay, they do that at that park. Okay, so I'm going to go down the list of everything that they claim happens at this park. They have an ancient Indian burial ground. Okay, so it's not only there's a mound there. They say that they suspect. I don't know if they have actually labeled it as an official like Indian burial mound. They say that it's some ancient Indian burial ground. Some people suspect it's a mound actually there, or there's a mound buried there, is what some people say. They say it's haunted by ghosts. It's the site of a UFO crash, and that it's inhabited by aliens. John, the aliens actually live there. It's cursed. That's no shocker. But they said that it's pretty heavily guarded by the military. And it kind of makes you wonder, why would it be guarded by the military? And if there is a spacecraft buried there, why would they have not already taken it out of there?
I don't know, unless they're looking for more, or there's evidence that there's something else, or maybe there's something they can't take out and they're digging down to it to study it. Who knows? But you'd have to see what kind of hole they're digging. I mean, and are they digging in the dunes? Because that's going to be some rough digging there. Because as soon as you take a scoop out, it's going to want to fill back in. So.
Oh yeah. Ew, slaughtering houses on ley lines. That's terrible. I've definitely heard that there's a lot of there's ancient technology. Hey, Javier. Like the cathedrals and large churches are also put on those ley lines and are built on ley lines as well. So it works. Like I said, it works both ways. Bad and good. I wonder if Brown Springs is on a ley line. I bet it is.
Put that map up again.
Okay. I'm gonna put it back up, and you tell me, because you know exactly where it's at. Let's see. I have to zoom in with my computer here. Let's see.
It's very close to one. It's very close to that X, just above and to the left of Dallas. I mean, it's it's right there.
An X. Okay, so there is one. There's an X.
That's right about where it is. So
two of them cross. So two ley lines cross right where Brown Springs is. Okay.
Yeah.
And I had heard a rumor not too long ago that Brown Springs actually got closed down or something. Have you heard that?
No,
I
I
don't know if that's
haven't.
true or not, but I
I don't
heard
know
that.
you can close it down. It's just a road that goes back along the river.
Oh
There
yeah,
are some houses back at the far end of it too, so I don't see how they could close it down
huh?
unless
Well,
somebody bought the property and put it off limits. Yeah, I don't know if that's public property or if it's privately owned. It's a
it's
big
got it's probably
area, though.
public. I think it's public. Well,
Yeah.
you know what? We have a lot of our national parks and our state parks because they've closed the gates all the time. I mean, even last weekend, when we were at the up in North Georgia, we were up there that night. A lot of the gates were most of the gates were closed where we were wanting to go. They had the gates closed the next morning. Actually, the next day they had closed the main gate where you couldn't get into that park at all. You couldn't get into it whatsoever because there are wildfires. Of course, there's always an excuse. Okay, but there were wildfires up there this time around. So yeah, a lot of these places can just get shut down for whatever reason. Um, but usually they don't stay shut forever though, which is great.
No.
So yeah, but this place is protected by Men in Black too, John. I don't know. I just was talking with Javier on Saturday, who was in the chat, Cryptid559, and he was telling me a really interesting story. He lives out near Fresno, California, and there have been times where he goes out and they get a lot of cryptid activity out there, and they'll be out there looking for UFOs, doing sky watches, and he's had some Dogman encounters and Bigfoot encounters, and cars will just pull up behind him or beside him, and it'll be like an old man wearing a fedora, and he doesn't move. He looks like a robot, and pulls up on the car, and it's just really odd, out of place people.
Yeah.
Okay? Out of place people. And I think is that how you would describe a Men in Black? What would be
I
your
would
idea of
think
a Men in
so. I
Black?
mean, I've never encountered one, but what Javier said, I think they're off. They're just not quite, they, how can I say this? I don't think they're quite human. I think they're trying to impersonate humans from
Mhm.
the descriptions I get of them. Their features are a little weird. Their speech is a little weird. Their skin tone, they're like pale from what I've heard. So I don't know. They don't quite. They're like a cheap knockoff of humans, from what I've heard them. Like they just didn't get it quite right.
Oh yeah. They couldn't get it quite right. Well, that's the same with a lot of anything that's like shapeshifters too. Even the reptilians trying to pretend to be human or shapeshifting into human
Right.
form. There's just something a little off. They call that the uncanny valley, I think.
The uncanny what?
The uncanny valley, where I mean, there's a story that we've talked about. I got a remote viewing target of the robot grandma out of Mount Shasta. And
Oh yeah.
I see this. I see this it's gonna be in your next book, isn't it?
Well, that's why I'm taking notes.
I know, right? Oh my gosh,
Hey, you know what?
I always give you
I
lots of
am
stuff to
constantly
ponder, don't
taking
I?
notes when I listen to people. I'm constantly taking notes to, like, well, that may be something I can use.
Oh yeah, it can. I think it's wonderful. The uncanny valley, though, that's where someone if you encounter someone who looks like a human, but they're not quite human. There's just something a little bit off about them, whether it be their eyes, whether it be their mannerisms. Something is off. And there was a case out of Mount Shasta of the robot grandma, and we'll have to talk about that another time. I did a show on it a while back. I even had some pins made up. I don't know if I have any in here. No, I don't have any. I love robot grandma. It's a true story. Okay, that happened where a little boy got kidnapped at his campsite at Mount Shasta by who he thought was his grandma, but it turned out to be a lookalike who he called a robot.
I think I've heard of that too.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Yeah, it happened. It had been 15 years ago or 10 years ago when that happened. But anyways, it's interesting, and there's another national park story right there. Okay, little boy was found. Of course, he was found, but it involved a potential extraterrestrial trying to look like his grandma to go run some tests on this child in a cave full of belongings of people, like potentially missing persons
I
belongings
have
and
heard
stuff.
that. Yeah, I have
Yeah.
heard that story.
Oh yeah. And Mount Shasta's on a ley line, I'm sure. There's no way it's not. But nonetheless, man, this has been a fantastic conversation today. Elise says, I think pyramids are on ley lines. Absolutely, pyramids most of them are probably
Yeah.
going to be on ley lines,
I think
just like the
Stonehenge is on a
mounds.
ley line.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. All these places of power are on ley lines. When I say places of power, the pyramids might have been power generators. And I've remote viewed the Great Pyramid of Giza at least twice. Who built it? And the pyramids once was probably over 10 years ago. And they're just saying now that they found some sort of cities under the pyramids and stuff. Have you heard about that, John?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah.
Have you heard? Did you hear about the air traffic being grounded? Was it Saturday or
You
Friday
did.
because of UFO sign? Did you hear anything about that?
I did, but I didn't hear anything else about it after that.
I haven't heard
So
anything else about it either.
yeah, I had not heard anything after that. So I don't know. We need to look into that. That's something maybe we could have talked about that today if I'd looked into it, but I forgot about it.
Well, I was looking
I
into it
got
and I
so
couldn't find
busy.
anything else about it. So I
Oh
was hoping
gosh.
you had.
No, I haven't. But we listen, I'd love to have you back on soon, John, if you feel like
Hey,
it.
soon as yeah, I
Okay.
do. As soon as you're ready, I'm ready. So yeah, don't be yeah,
Okay.
anytime.
Okay. Well, we're gonna have you back on, and I would love for you to tell the audience about your books and about the Bigfoot Festival y'all got coming up out there in Hanobi, and tell everybody where they can find you in your books.
Okay, you can find my books at www.relicsbooks.com. RELICS books.com. Um, I'm working on, I've started a new series called In the Fall, and I published the first book of it last year before I got ill, and I'm finishing that up. I've got the very first book, Relics, in with another publisher, getting fine tuned, get out all the typos and stuff. But all my books are there. Um, if you're going to be in Oklahoma, especially Southeast Oklahoma, on May 17th, yeah, thank you for putting those up. Kiamichi Mountains Bigfoot Conference is at Tallahena on May the 17th. Doors open at 8 o'clock and the conference starts at 9. I'm planning on emceeing that if my health holds up. Also, first weekend in October, we have the big Bigfoot conference here in Honaby, and it's always the first weekend in October, and it'll run for 2 days, Friday, Saturday, and it'll run part of Sunday. So, if you're in the area, I'd love to see you guys at these things.
Oh
And
yeah.
this is Tanya, bless her heart. She runs the Bigfoot Museum in Tallahena, and she puts that display together for my books, and I really appreciate it. Matter of fact, the Bigfoot blanket I got hanging on the wall behind me, her and her husband brought me that while I was in rehab um, last month. So I really appreciate them. And anytime you're anywhere near Tallahena, if you're into Bigfoot, cryptids, UFOs, stop by the Oklahoma Bigfoot Museum there in Tallahena. You can't miss it, and they're very nice people. It's worth the stop. There's no admission to get in, and they have some really nice gift stuff. So
And you can get your books there. Oh my gosh, that
yeah,
is so cool. And Tanya's so sweet. I've talked to her before. Very sweet
yeah,
lady.
she is very
Yeah,
sweet.
for sure. I was just thinking we could have even talked about the Bigfoot War of 1855. That came out of Oklahoma as well, John.
Yeah,
The
but that
siege of
you know what?
Hanobi.
I hate to
Yeah.
bust people's bubbles, but that's fiction. There's a
Yeah, that's
guy
fiction.
named Tukalov Neshoba who wrote that for entertainment. He's admitted it, and people just
Oh,
taken off and run with it. Now he did a good job because this is LaFleur County, and he named it after the guy's name was LaFleur, the captain. And
nice.
but also, if you go and you look at the story and you do a little research, the guns they had wouldn't be invented for another 10 to 12 years. So you kind of pick that one apart. Sorry.
Oh, dang. Well, you know what? It
Well, I
could have been
wanted
based.
to
I've
use it.
heard the opposite as well, though, too. So I don't know. It could have been based off something that really happened.
Well, if
And
it didn't have an author, I'd go with the opposite. But it's got an author, and he's alive, and he has admitted I wrote that for entertainment. And I
for
really wanted to
entertainment
use that story
purposes
as
only.
I wanted to mention that in my first novel, but I thought Well, I can't use it as fiction because it's somebody else's fiction, so I didn't bother using it.
I love it. I love it. Yes. Well, everything we talk about, y'all, is for entertainment purposes only. Thank you, Maureen. That's always wonderful having
Yeah,
that up
that
on the
helps.
screen there, right? That's so funny. Oh my gosh. Oh, and Maureen, thank you. Robot Grandma approves. Thank you for that super sticker, Maureen. That is so sweet of you. Yes, Robot Grandma is a crowd favorite, no doubt. And I think what I was telling Javier on Saturday night, it sounded like that man in the fedora that pulled up behind his car that looked
Yeah.
robotic was
Hey, can
Robot
you hang on
Grandpa.
just a sec?
Sure,
Or keep
absolutely.
talking.
Yes. Okay. Okay. Y'all, thank everybody for being here today. This has been a really great show. And Maureen, thank you so much again for that. And I appreciate it. I don't know where John is, y'all. But yeah, I'm just excited to have John back today, and he's taken a good bit of time to recover, and we do love you, John.
Well,
And
thank you. I
so
love all
glad you're
y'all
here.
too. And you know what? Live podcasts are like live TV. Somebody knocks at the door and you can't help it.
Oh, you know what?
But
Actually, I
thank you
think
for
one of
having
the
me on. This went by so fast. I
it went
mean,
by so fast, John. I remember one of
yeah,
the.
I've been looking forward to being on your show since I got out of the hospital.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
finally, I was down for so long. I had to ignore everything as far as my books and stuff, and they just went like a submarine. But
Oh
it's
my
starting to
gosh.
get a pulse again. I'm starting to settle again, and get a little pulse going. So, and this helps, and I really appreciate it.
Well, I hope we got your blood pumping today. Okay, and I remember one of the last times you came on my show, your door opened by itself behind you.
Yeah,
Do you
yeah,
remember
it
that?
did, didn't it?
Your door opened by itself in the background while we were live
Yeah,
on
I
air.
remember that.
That was weird.
Well, this is for another time. I know we got to go, but I've had more weird stuff happen to me since I moved to Honubby than ever before in my life. And what's weird is almost every time it happens, I'm standing in the same spot. It's nuts. But I'll tell you about it another time when we have more time. But
Okay.
thank you so much for having me on. And folks, if you go to my website and also the books are available paperback, hardback, ebook, and they're all on Audible too. If you get the free audio books every month, you can snag one of them. So
Yes, and these are all his books, y'all. They are all fantastic. I think I've got just about every one of them. Me or my son, both, and they are amazing. They will keep you on the edge of your seat, and I promise you, you'll love them. And the kids will love the Shadow Chasers novels. Actually, I love them just as much as my son does. Okay, so
well, I'm working on a new Shadow Chasers, and I'm working on the sequels in the fall, kind of the same time as I'm doing this editing on the first Relics. But I got behind laying in the hospital bed, so I'm having to bang away 3 projects at once here. Just spend an hour here, spend an hour there, and try
oh
to
yeah,
keep going. But yeah, I'll try to have another Shadow Chasers book along with the fall 2 out this year. So that's the
okay.
plan.
Well, as soon as you get those out, you're gonna have to come back on again. Okay. Well,
Yes,
you got to come
ma'am.
back on anytime. Listen, you got an open invite anytime you want to come on here
Well, thank you. I
and hang out
appreciate it.
with me. Hey, listen, I got 4 live shows a week, John.
Hey,
You just pick a day. Okay.
okay, I'd be glad to.
Okay. Okay. Wonderful. And have fun at the Bigfoot Festival. Is it Kamichi? Is that how you pronounce that? The
Kind of
Kamichi
Michi.
Mountains. Kamichi.
Actually, it's kind of Michi. Yeah, that's the mountains here, and these mountains.
Yeah. Well, have fun at that. Gosh, I need to get out to Oklahoma sometime and come
Yeah, you
visit.
do. Yeah, you
I do.
absolutely
And
do.
come Bigfooting out there.
You'd love Tanya's museum, I think.
Oh, yeah. Well, I'll plan to come out there sometime. Okay. And
Awesome.
until then, y'all, please go to relicsbooks.com and get John's books. And yeah, you guys, I hope everybody enjoyed the show today and hope y'all learned as much as I did. I always learn as I go. And I learned a lot today, John. Thank you so much
Thank
for uh,
you.
for co-hosting with me and come
Oh, I
along on the
appreciate
ride.
it.
Yeah, and you
We
better
want to
watch
buy
for blue
people.
lightning. Okay, watch for blue lightning, everybody. That goes for everybody watching and listening. Watch for blue lightning, y'all. Don't walk towards it. Run away from it.
That was green
Okay,
lightning, I thought.
green
Green
and
lightning.
blue. That's right, green and blue. Oh man. All right. Well, you guys, please come back and see me on Wednesday. I believe I have Terry Brown coming on. We're going to be talking about his experience and his family's generational experience with the little people I believe that's up in East Tennessee, if I'm not mistaken. And so we're going to, there's a long history of him and his family with that. So we're going to really get into that on Wednesday. It's going to be a fantastic show. You don't want to miss it. And I will see you guys back here then. Until then, you guys, please stay safe out there. Like I said, watch for the lightning. Okay, watch for lightning. And I'm going to go duck and dive out of the lightning out here and go pick up my kid today. Y'all have a wonderful day. And I'll see y'all back here on Wednesday. All right, see you, John. Thanks, y'all.
See you. Thank you, everyone. Bye-bye.